What's going on, everybody? Adrian Hunter from over here at PipeDream Hookah, or the AM Hookah podcast. Those channels are starting to both feel equally important, which I'm pretty excited by. But today is the first official 2019 release of the Starbuzz Series. Why does that matter? We released one Starbuzz Series in 2018. It was kind of the primer. It went live on THL's channel. That was kind of a bust, because like they didn't upload constantly when I put that up there, and then I uploaded it on my channel, so now the views are split. But the guys at THL got some views, and hey, maybe I got a couple subscribers from it, so that's great. But that's not really the point. The point is more so that this is the first official episode of the Starbuzz Series, meaning that it's going to be like not done in seasons like the Alfakar series, but this is the first one that's going to fall in unison with the first Monday is the Alfakar series, then the Starbuzz series, Alfakar series, Starbuzz series, ad nauseum. And today's is going to be on Apple Doppio. Before we get too into it, if you do want to see my review on the other flavor I did, which was Irish Peach, you can find that over on THL. Those are good guys. I think they were doing some really cool stuff here in 2019, actually. Or just on my channel. It was uploaded last year. So that said, the setup is going to be the white matte pair, Luxe base, Maggie Salter base matte. Unfortunately, I still don't have the camera set up so you guys can see that, but I promise it's there, Maggie. Thank you so much. I've got an Apache alpaca on top. This is like one of the Gen 1 ones, really old. Some of the first ones Apache actually made. And then on top I got 3 titanium flats. Obviously, I've got the Apple Doppio packed in there. For a packing method, that's going to be coming very shortly for both Egyptian and funnel style bowls. I'm not going to do it quite yet, but if you want to see how to pack Starbuzz, I'm going to leave a couple videos from a guy named Jake Jacobson, Mr. Hookah Rev himself. He does a really good tutorial on how to pack Starbuzz into all the bowls. I have some things that I would do a little bit differently, but for the most part I think you're going to get stellar sessions when you pack it the way he does. That said, let's dive right into the review. As always on this channel, we're going to review these flavors based on the scent, the taste, the cloud output, as well as a few other minor factors that go into how the tobacco performs. And to start, we're going to smell the tobacco. This one's quite complicated. This isn't just like any double apple flavor. You can smell it, you go, oh look, it's black licorice, it's black jelly bean. It's not gonna quite come across that way. It almost has this sweetness to it, this non-saturated sweetness, this almost juice-like quality to it. When I smell it, it's not as offensive as some double apples. Now, I like the smoke of most of these really strong double apples like Alfakar, but when I smell it, it is quite an offensive smell. That's not what you get off of Apple Doppio. It's almost like a mix between that light anise flavor you get from Nakla and almost this apple juice kind of flavor that you would get from like an actual apple flavor mixed together, and you don't really get any like green apple or red apple notes. This does say on labeling, maybe I can edit in picture and maybe not. We'll see how much time I have today. But it looks like it's going to be a green apple and a red apple sliced and then stacked every other one, like red apple, green apple, red apple, green apple. And maybe there's a note of green apple in there, but I think I'm tricking myself into smelling it by looking at the picture. So that's kind of a complicated one. That said, we're going to move right past the scent and check out the clouds that we can get out of this stuff. And after that, we'll do the flavor profile. But why am I skipping ahead? It's time for some clouds. Alright, if you're surprised and you primarily watch reviews on my channel, I'm actually not surprised this time that you're surprised, because I haven't reviewed a whole lot of Starbuzz from the bold line, I think is what this is. Yeah, this is like the exotic, bold, whatever line of tobacco. I haven't found a whole lot of difference between this and their regular line. More on that as we get into more Starbuzz reviews. The clouds themselves, they're outstanding. They're going to be a little bit better than Alfakar's. They're still not going to be pushing up towards stuff like Trifecta Dark or Tangiers. I think the reason the cloud output might be a little higher than Alfakar's is just because, at least for this particular can of Starbuzz, the cut's much more consistent. I'm able to pack it in a little bit more consistently without screwing with the tobacco too much, and it's a little bit juicier than a lot of Alfakar I've had. So I don't know if the clouds being better is necessarily a good thing, because we're going to get into the flavor profile. But the clouds are good. That said, you do have to move into the flavor profile. As usual on this channel, we're going to do it on both the inhale and the exhale, because I think that's a better way to kind of describe the entire experience of a tobacco's flavor profile from beginning to end, starting with the inhale. Okay, so the flavor profile on the inhale. is interesting. Like I was saying with the scent of the tobacco, I mentioned that I think I might be Jedi mind tricking myself into thinking that there is green apple in here because of the actual picture on the can. However, even though I'm not sure if the green apple is coming through in the scent of the tobacco, I feel like I'm definitely tasting it just a little bit on the tip of the tongue in the inhale on the flavor profile of the tobacco. It's mostly going to do a great job at translating the actual scent of the tobacco into the flavor, in that it does have some of those anise notes. It's not super strong like it is with Alfaka Double Apple. And it definitely has some of those like apple juice-esque notes is what I'm gonna call them. Kind of more like what Karma's Double Apple tastes like, if you ever had that. That to me is a little bit more apple juicy than it is black licorice-y, if that makes any sense. But there's definitely like some sour note of what I think is green apple. I'm not quite sure, but that's what I'm picking up on. If you want like a second opinion, definitely go check out, I think Hookah Rev does an awesome actual review of Apple Doppio as well. It's a little bit outdated. I don't know if they've changed their formula since then, but if they haven't, I tend to trust Hookah Rev's palate. But yeah, to kind of sum it up for the inhale, the flavor profile is going to be a lot like the scent. Hold for a little bit of green apple at the tip of the tongue. I think something a little sour is going on. That said, let's move on to the exhale. Okay, when we transition to the exhale, the flavor profile is actually going to change quite a bit. What actually happens for me is any of that green apple flavor that I was speaking of dies down completely. The saturation of the flavor profile comes down by about 30%, and it kind of switches over to being like anise forward. It's very like black licorice flavor forward on the exhale, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's pretty reminiscent of Alfaka on the exhale, but I think it's quite a good thing. It's almost like a transmorphative smoke if you want to think about it that way. But yeah, I would say the flavor profile on both the inhale and exhale kind of do a good job of referencing the scent on the tobacco while being unique in their own right. So I gotta hand it to Starbuzz. This is a really good flavor. I shouldn't say that before I rated it, I suppose, but I was surprised when I started smoking this stuff at how complex the flavor profile can actually be on a double apple flavor. Pleasantly surprised. Before we can go ahead and actually rate this stuff, we gotta go over a few other things, and let's go ahead and start with how well does Starbuzz take heat. Starbuzz takes heat fine. Starbuzz will burn quicker than something like Alfaka in my opinion. Although Starbuzz can take a little bit of direct heat contact, that is the tobacco's touching the foil just a little bit, you really got to be careful with how even the tobacco is packed. I'll go over that in the packing method in both a funnel bowl and an Egyptian bowl. But for the most part, as long as you don't overheat the entire bowl, your Starbuzz will not burn. But it's not quite as forgiving as a lot of the Alfaka flavors can be. Like, you're probably going to have a lot of trouble burning Alfaka or Double Apple. But for the most part, it's pretty good as far as heat resistance goes. Now, as far as how long are you going to get a session going for, this is a Double Apple flavor, so I got to hand it to Starbuzz. It goes for about an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes. You can get 2 rounds of flats. Now, that said, the flavor profile isn't gonna do what Alfaka's does, where it kind of takes a nosedive after like the hour and 20 minute mark. It's gonna start to taper down at about 45 minutes. You're still gonna get a good enjoyable session, but as you smoke through it, you're gonna start to notice the flavor die down, and this may be a motif throughout all the different Starbuzz flavors from both the regular and the exotic line. And then head buzz. It's a lot like Alfaka. As long as you get proper fluids and you get plenty of food, you're not gonna get a head buzz at all off of this washed blonde tobacco. It's barely even tobacco. You're basically vaping, but in like manual transmission. Now we're gonna go ahead and rate this flavor on a scale from 1 to 7, like we do over here at Pipedream Hookah. I'm gonna give this flavor a solid 6 out of 7, which is surprising for me because this is Starbuzz, and it's a flavor, well, not a flavor, it's a brand that I typically avoid when I'm smoking personally, but Apple Doppio is a solid flavor, and it's a good standalone smoke. Obviously, it's going to be hard for Starbuzz to hit a 7 out of 7. The flavor profiles are candied, and like I was saying, this is definitely going to be like that apple juice flavor is where you're going to get the sweetness from. So even though it is more complex than something like Alfaka's Double Apple, it's still a bit sweet. And the flavor profiles are never that mind-blowing to me. I reserve 7s for like really specific types of flavors, but this is really good, and I would recommend picking it up if you can get your hands on it. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this review on this Starbuzz flavor Apple Doppio. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys on Wednesday, and as always, happy smoking.